Hey there, this is Red. It's time for another Red review. So today we're going to talk about some custom content, and we're going to talk about one of the custom content villains, and that villain is the one I've been playing against recently, the Big Wheel. So I've been going against him with Black Widow to test out my deck, and I really like the Big Wheel. So the Big Wheel is not a huge complex challenge to go against. I would actually put him in the Rhino level, maybe even simpler than the Rhino. So I think he's a good learning character, and he's a good character to go against to test out your deck and see how it does. If we take a look at the first level of Big Wheel, he's got 2 scheme and 2 attack and 15 hit points. So that's pretty basic. And as you step up, you see he has his scheme actually drops, so he has 1 scheme and 3 attack, but now he's going to get a bonus scheme for each attachment he has on him. All right, and a couple more hit points. And we get a couple more hit points, and the Tinker is going to come out, and now he's going to get +1 scheme and +1 attack for each attachment that he has. So what we'll show here is when we take a look at the main scheme. So the main scheme that we got, the first one is your Wheel of Misfortune, right? Which actually doesn't do a whole lot other than you need to deal with 8 threat, right? And that's actually a pretty good number. So that's one that is high enough that it's tough for an advance to just scheme it out and you don't have a chance. And if you keep Big Wheel on the Wheel of Misfortune, he's a fairly easy villain to beat. The problem is when you step him up, if this one goes out and Reinventing the Wheel comes out, you're going to grab 2 wheel attachments and put them into play. And then it's got this thing where, depending upon whether it's odd or even, you actually get another attachment to come into play. And it's adding 2 threat every round base. So it ends up being kind of tough. If you actually let him progress into this second main scheme, he becomes a very tough villain at that point in time, in my opinion. So keep him on the first set of the main scheme. All right, so let's talk about what comes out. Cards that are supporting the Big Wheel there. You've got the Wall. There's some old school Spider-Man comic going on there, right? And he's a fairly easy villain. He's got Tough. He's got Retaliate 2, which is annoying. And he's got this ability that I haven't seen anywhere else, which is Breakthrough. And that's you can't defend against him, right? So 1 scheme, 2 attack. Not all that bad with 1 health. The 2 Retaliate is annoying. So we have the Tinkerer, which is like from the Prowler deck. It's another Tinkerer. This one's very different from the one in the Prowler deck. So he's got 3 scheme, no attack, and you're going to grab a attachment out, which those make the Big Wheel tougher, admittedly. So you got the Tinkerer, and you've got Lady Stiltman, which is an awesome side character. I like this character. 2 attack, 2 scheme, 5 health, which can't be blocked by allies, which is a lot of fun. So it's a nice wrinkle to throw in there. All right, so then we get into kind of the meat of what makes Big Wheel, right? So there's these attachments, and I believe there's 4 of them. So one of them is Wheel Spikes, and then you get +1 attack. And the tough thing with this one is 3 energy to get rid of it. Ugh. Then the Breakthrough, where it can't be blocked, can be very annoying for some characters. You got Wheel Lasers, which gives him Overkill, and 2 to get rid of. And yet again, another +1 attack. You got Wheel Rockets, and that's going to also damage your allies, and it takes 2 mental to get rid of. And then you've got the Bigger Wheel, which is going to stun your characters and takes 2 physical to get rid of. So if you see a lot of these, they're adding +1 attack, and this one adds +1 scheme. Then as you get into like the level 3 Big Wheel, for each attachment in addition, he's getting +1 attack and +1 scheme. So not only are you getting +1 from the card, you're getting the +1 from Big Wheel himself. And as these attachments pile onto him, he gets really powerful. So the idea is to keep these attachments off of him, which becomes tough to do when you're in the second main scheme for Big Wheel. All right, so we've got a Treachery card. And you're going to destroy allies, supports, and upgrades equal to the number of players that are out there. So depending upon which character you're playing, this can be really evil or not all that bad. So playing against Black Widow throws a ton of those out there, not all that big of a deal. Some of the other characters, you rarely get those out there, and that can become a big problem. All right, so there's a couple of those, 2, 3 of those. Then you've got rollout. So you're going to choose here. If you're a hero, you have a choice between discard a location you control, or Big Wheel attacks and gets +2 attack for his next attack. Or if you're alter ego, you're going to get an additional scheme. So it's a lot easier to discard the location. So I think I tried to take one of these as Black Widow, and it ended up being very painful. I think you're better off dropping the location than trying to take on one of the two things, unless maybe you've got a stun on him or something like that. But there's 3 of those in the deck, and those are fairly painful cards. My wheel is invincible. So that's going to take any statuses off of there and then give him a tough card. And then as a boost, it just gives him a tough card. All right, there's a couple of those. Oh, 3 of those. And then wheeling and dealing. This one I've hit once and is extremely annoying because when you play with a variety of resources, you kind of have your plan as to what you're going to do. And then you tend to, I think I ended up having to get rid of, I couldn't pay for what I wanted to do on the round because I had to get rid of enough cards no matter what I did. Either I got rid of the card I wanted to do, or I ended up getting enough resources of the other types that I couldn't pay for the card that I wanted to do. So maybe it's good if you were playing a very heavy, like the Tech Nova deck for Iron Man. Maybe you choose something like mental or physical when almost all of his stuff is energy. It might not be all that big of a deal, but when you're playing a deck with a decent mix, this can be a very painful card to hit. All right, and then finally, we've got wheel tune-up. So when this comes out, you're going to start adding attachments. So another extremely annoying card to come out because him having attachments makes him tough to defeat. So you want to get that one out of the way right away. So that's it for my quick review of the Big Wheel. So I would actually highly recommend getting this villain to play against. He's a pretty easy one. He'd be a great one to teach new players to bring out because he doesn't do anything all that complex. Everything he does is pretty straightforward. And then as long as you can keep him on the first main scheme, he's actually a fairly easy villain to beat. So that's the Big Wheel. If you guys have played against him and you've got comments, please leave them in the comments below. If you've had experiences fighting against him where you actually think he's a lot tougher than I'm making him out to be, let me know and say, hey, Red, he's been pretty evil to me. So let me know if you agree or disagree. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.